Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement. Welcome everyone to Saturday morning Bhagavad Gita as it is, reading and discussion with the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association, which is part of our weekly sadhana program we recommend for all people that are interested in going back home, back to Godhead. This is a desire that a person should have to cultivate spiritual life in association with bona fide disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And it was Prabhupada's goal to spread Krishna consciousness around the world, and he wanted his disciples to help him. And there were different methods that he employed, opening temples and initiating disciples and distributing books to support the training of people in Krishna consciousness. It's interesting to note, Yashodanandana Prabhu, that there have been hundreds of millions of books sold. Very interesting. Hundreds of millions of books. And you go to the temples in America, there have been hundreds of millions of books sold in America. Huh? No question. For 40, 50 years. How many devotees do they have? In New Orleans, 3 or 4 come to the Mangal Arati. In Tennessee, there are no devotees there. San Diego, a few people. Toronto, hardly any. What's wrong? You're selling books. They contain the knowledge, so-called. These edited books have been disconnected from the disciplic succession due to the ambition of a few so-called leaders in that society that Prabhupada started, so that's become ineffective. But the question is what to do. Well, first of all, you have to preach to other people. You can't just sit and be a bhajananandi. Oh, I'll take care of my own spiritual life. Oh, you can do that if you want. That's your choice. But your chances of going back to Godhead under the banner of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement become minimized because of your self-engrossed process of bhajananandi. One has to become a preacher. And what does that mean? You have to set good example. You have to chant your rounds. You have to study the books carefully. And you have to practice the process of Krishna consciousness daily throughout your life. And then share it with others. Try to inspire them. Try to become their friends. Try to guide them and help them That's how you make devotees. You can go give somebody a book. Here, take this book. Next minute, he takes the book and throws it in the garbage. What good is that? Okay, so he touched the book for a minute. We understand there's a transcendental benefit in book distribution. Just the holding of a book or having it in your house. Of course there's a benefit. It's better than nothing. But there's a lot more to this process than simply giving a person or becoming an expert seller of books. I've sold lots of things in my life. Maybe $50 million worth of goods and services in this meager life of my own. But what does that mean? Just because you can sell something to someone doesn't make them a devotee. There's a cultivation process that must go on. And a program, you cultivate people, then you give them opportunity to read these books, like this book here, the unedited version, and then you cultivate them. You call them up, you follow up. If you're selling exotic cars, what you have to do, the most important thing when you're trying to sell someone a $100,000 car is follow up. Don't just give, here's a brochure, goodbye. There's a whole system. So like that, cultivate people. Try to train them up. Give them good association. Get them some books. Guide them through the reading. Because people read the books. A lot of people are getting the books, and then they interpret the value of the book or the meaning of the book according to their own individual perspective. And that's going on. Everybody thinks they know. Well, if you're not trained up, first of all, how to understand this philosophy through the association of the pure devotee and his disciples that are following him carefully, you're going to go off in a sort of platform of mental speculation and mental concoction and think, oh, I've got it all figured out. It's like I tell people, oh, you should just study Prabhupada's books. Oh yeah, but I'm going to read all the books. Every book that's out there, I'll read Gaudiya Math, I'll read these other books from Swami Narayan's group and this and that. Prabhupada told us specifically how to take up Krishna consciousness. He trained us up. We were fortunate, some of us, to get personal association with Prabhupada and get an insight on what is the real method. So this is something that we have to develop, this training process of how to make devotees, not followers. Nadanam najanam nasindarim. Followers, you can get thousands of followers, just like these gurus in the ISKCON group. They think making a devotee means getting a follower, finding out how much money he's got in his bank account. I have an example here in Toronto, Gopal Krishna. There was a lady that joined the temple back years ago. And what was the first question that Gopal asked her? How much money do you have? How much money do you have? This is going on in the so-called name of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya with these fake gurus. This is nonsense. So what we have a plan for is printing books that are unedited and authorized books by Srila Prabhupada. We have a plan. We're not going to disclose the plan, but we do have a plan. We're working on it, a small group of us. And by the way, we are looking for other people to step up and participate with us. So by all means, please get in touch with us. I was thinking about sports, Yashodanandana, this morning. How in a sports team, like say for instance, basketball. You have a basketball team. There are 5 people on the court, and they have 12 coaches. 12 coaches. So this is how organizations grow is with a group of people, not just with one or two. Now, everyone has a specific role that they can take, but if you participate in this group with us, you step up and decide personally you're going to do more to please Srila Prabhupada by working cooperatively with like-minded devotees, then one's life will become blissful. That is the result of devotional service. And what we want to do is locate different people throughout the world that are interested in book distribution to help us. In other words, we have a plan, but you have to have a group of people that are interested in distributing the books, whether it's in Italy, whether it's in America, whether it's in Hawaii, whether it's in Mexico. We have people all over the world in our group, but they're interested in cultivating people and distributing the books to them and then helping these people become devotees of Srila Prabhupada with a proper understanding of our philosophy. Connect the dots in this process. It's not one thing. It's many things that make things successful. I was thinking, and I'll finish up, how many people, right now we've got 16,200 people in the Prabhupada Disciples Association online. 16,200, and it's building every day. And people are from all over the world are contacting us constantly and thanking us. I just spoke to a devotee in Jagannath Puri. He comes to our classes online. Actually, I sent his email to Vinkat Bhatta. Please connect him. How many people will we get in this group moving forward, Vijay Pandit? I say 1 million. 1 million people, not 16,000. Why? Because we tell the truth. If you don't think that we do, then guess what? Go join some other group right now. Go associate with them. Have fun with your spiritual life. You've got independent free will. You've got an ability to choose who you want to be with and what you want to do. So go do it. And don't waste our time. This group is not for wasting time. I'm not going to discuss it further. There's a lot we are thinking about, but we are looking for people in different parts of the world that want to support us in our distribution of Prabhupada's books and the cultivation of Prabhupada disciples in our efforts to please our spiritual master and help people who are lost in this world get out of this entanglement of birth and death. That is our philosophy, and that is real welfare work, not opening hospitals. No. Not opening so-called schools and putting up Bhaktivedanta Swami on the literature and feeding them food. It's food, spiritual food, transcendental knowledge through bona fide training in association with good devotees and in association with the spiritual master in his Vani incarnation. Anyway, we could go on. But we have a wonderful class that we're going to enjoy with Yashodanandana Prabhu. And we're going to go to the reading of the diaries just to see how Prabhupada was designing his program personally for spreading Krishna consciousness in the early days. And we'll go back to Monday, June 6, 1966. And here's the beginnings. Prabhupada, we're so fortunate we've got these diaries. Monday, June 6th, sunrise 4:32 a.m. Sunset 7:25, moonrise 10:49. The Tricha bank deposit was $25, not bad. Paper was $1.57 and a bitter melon was 30 cents. In the evening, there was a meeting I think I read this, but we'll read forward again. About more than 16 men and women attended, and the meeting was interesting, but the collection was poor. Contribution only $9.50. Book collection, Raphael 3 taken, $4. Income $13.50. Expenditures $26.87. One gentleman has taken a set of books. Altogether, 5 sets distributed out of 16. There is a balance now of 11 sets. On June 7th, 1966, the sunrise was 4:31 a.m. Sunset was, 7:26. Moonrise, 11:26. Chaturi, today in the morning, Paul was paid $1.35 plus $1 previous. I went to see Dr. Mishra. I dined with him. Expenditure was 30 cents, 2 diems for telephone call, and total expenditure was $2.85. Bank deposit was $15, so $17.85. Wednesday, June 8th, sunrise 4:31 a.m., sunset 7:26 p.m., moonrise 11:55, Panchami. There was a meeting in the evening. About 16 persons attended, one of which was a Chinese woman who became very much interested. So Prabhupada's observing how people of all nations, all races, could be attracted to Krishna consciousness based on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The collection was $11, the book collection was $4, and the total was $15. A letter received from Harvey. And on Thursday, June 9th, 1966, back in time, everyone, Prabhupada there working at his diary. Sunset 4:31, sunset 7:27 p.m., moonrise. Shasti received a letter from Secretary Sri Padman Pat. He is not at present interested in temple construction in New York, a laughing stock. Paul was paid for expenditure $250 on Friday, June 10th. Sunrise was 4:31 a.m., sunset was 7:28 p.m., moonrise was 12. Okay. Saptami, there was no expenditure today. In the evening, there was a meeting. 12 heads were present. Contribution only $8. Well, that's about 75 cents each. Book collection was $4. Total income was $12. Invited to attend eating function on Sunday, the 12th instant. And here we have JK organization. I guess this is the letter from this fellow. So Prabhupada had it collected. It's March 28th, 1966, to Prabhupada in New York, room 307. So I guess that was his old address, yeah. Dear Sir, Sri Padampati Sri G. Sanganiya has received your kind letter of the 18th instant. I, however, regret to write that Sri Padmapatji is not interested in the scheme of building a Radha Krishna temple in New York at present. In regards to the inquiry continued in the last paragraph of your letter, Sri Padmapatji duly received your books, Srimad Bhagavatam, from your Delhi office, and so his secretary signed it from Sri Padmapatji Singh. Not very encouraging, is it? Of course, what else is new? There's lots of discouragement that goes on when you go on a preaching mission. Saturday, June 11th, sunrise 4:31 a.m., sunset 7:28 p.m., moonrise 0:44. Astami today, I paid Paul $2 and Carl $20. Total expenditure was $22. I received one letter from Mangalanoy and replied to it. That was a brahmachari in India he was trying to bring over. Afternoon, there was a Sanskrit class. 5 people attended and contribution was $2. One letter was written to J.N. Wankawala for confirmation. And here I wanted to show these pictures. Look at these beautiful pictures. There's Prabhupada in the early days. By himself. No one really helping, but him never giving up. By himself. Before the explosion. And here's another picture of Prabhupada from the diet. Look at that. What a beautiful picture. So serious. He looks young here, very young. So the early days of the Sankirtan mission. And we should be very honored to be a part of that mission in 2024. All glories to the Sankirtan devotees of the Prabhupada Disciples Association Hare Krishna Society. We'll move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, and then we'll have a wonderful discussion and reading. All those beautiful verses that you chant, Yashodanandana. Thank you very much. All glories to the Sankirtan mission. Haribol.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se Gaur Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridhardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktavinda ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktavinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Naranarayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. As we do every week, we read 1 or 2 verses from the Gita Dhyanam, or the Gita Mahatmya, or glorification of the Bhagavad Gita. This week, we will be reading from the Gita Dhyanam from the Vaishnava Tantra Sar, text number 7 and 8. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande paramananda vardhanam. I salute that Lord Madhava, the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the dumb eloquent and the cripple cross mountains. Yam Brahma Varunendra Marutaha Stuvanti Dibyastave Vede Prasanga Karmopanishader Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyana Vastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Naviduhu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmei Namah. Salutations to that God whom Brahma, Indra, Varuna, Rudra, and the Maruts praise with divine hymns, of whom the Samachanters sing by the Vedas and their Angas in the Pada and Krama methods, and by the Upanishads, whom the yogis see with their minds absorbed in him through meditation, and whose hands the hosts of devas and asuras know not. It's interesting to note that this last verse, Srila Prabhupada used to often quote that last verse in various lectures and conversation. So we will proceed soon with the reading first, I wanted to make a brief announcement. Today is the appearance day of Ramanujacharya. Those of you who have access to the screen, you can see the name of Bhakta Rupesh Chawan. He has a picture of Ramanuja. Well, this is not a painting or a picture. This is actually Ramanuja's that body in Sri Rangam. When Ramanuja departed, they did not entomb his body. They covered his body with sandalwood and saffron and fragrances. This is his actual transcendental physical body. It is still there in Sri Rangam in South India. So this is a very, very special picture. And today is the divine appearance day of Ramanujacharya. And for those of you, we have sent out different emails and different pictures yesterday. For those of you who may have received it, I hope you like it. For those of you who would like to receive it, just send me an email or Vishwakarma Prabhu an email, and I'll make arrangements so you get the email with the quotations about Ramanuja and beautiful pictures of the birthplace of Ramanuja, some of his transcendental activities and everything. So as Prabhupada used to do for all of these different classes on Bhagavad Gita in 1966, he used to recite various verses, hand-picked verses. These are reproduced in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita on page 1. We will repeat these verses as part of the program. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Should be noted that this reading is on the basis of the original 1972 Macmillan edition. This is the original unabridged, non-adulterated, non-edited version. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we'll be reading from chapter 11, texts 1 and 2. Arjuna Vacha Madanugrahaya Paramam Guhyam Adhyatma Sangitam Yatvayuktam Bachastena Mohoyam Vigato Mama Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Mat Anugrahaya, just to show me favor, Paramam, supreme, Guhyam, confidential, Adhyatma, spiritual, Sangyitam, in the matter of, Yat, what, Tvaya, by you, Uktam, said, Vachaha, words, Tena, by that, Mohaha, illusion, Ayam, this, Vigataha, is educated, Mama, my. Arjuna said, I have heard your instruction on confidential spiritual matters, which you have so kindly delivered unto me, and my illusion is now dispelled. Purport. This chapter reveals Krishna as the cause of all causes. He is even the cause of the Mahavishnu, and from him all material universes emanate. Krishna is not an incarnation. He is the source of all incarnations. That has been completely explained in the last chapter. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he says that his illusion is over. This means that Arjuna no longer thinks of Krishna as a mere human being, as a friend of his, but as the source of everything. Arjuna is very enlightened and is glad that he has a great friend like Krishna. But now he is thinking that although he may accept Krishna as the source of everything, others may not. So in order to establish Krishna's divinity for all, he is requesting Krishna in this chapter to show his universal form. Actually, when one sees the universal form of Krishna, one becomes frightened, like Arjuna. But Krishna is so kind that after showing it, he converts himself again into his original form. Arjuna agrees to what Krishna says several times. Krishna is speaking to him just for his benefit, and Arjuna acknowledges that all this is happening to him by Krishna's grace. He is now convinced that Krishna is the cause of all causes and is present in everyone's heart as the super soul. Text number 2. Bhavapyayo hi bhutanam. Bhavapyayo hi bhutanam. Shrutau vistarasho maya. Shrutau vistarasho maya. Tvattaha kamalapatraksha. Tvattaha kamalapatraksha. Mahatmyam api chavyayam. Mahatmyam api chavyayam. Bhava, appearance. Apyayo, disappearance. He certainly, Bhutanam, of all living entities. Shruto, have heard. Vistarashaha, detailed. Maya, by me. Tvattaha, from you. Kamalapatraksha, O lotus-eyed one. Mahatmyam, glories. Api, also. Cha, and. Avyayam, inexhaustible. Translation. O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, as realized through your inexhaustible glories. Purport. Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus-eyed. Krishna's eyes appear just like the petals of a lotus flower out of his joy, for Krishna has assured him in the last verse of the previous chapter that he sustains the entire universe with just a fragment of himself. He is the source of everything in this material manifestation, and Arjuna has heard of this from the Lord in detail. Arjuna further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearances, he's aloof from them. His personality is not lost, although he is all-pervading. That is the inconceivable opulence of Krishna, which Arjuna admits that he has thoroughly understood. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaham. Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadhanastrinam Danter Idam Yati Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dulishyam Janma Janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, the primary disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom he chose to present the essential of his philosophical approach, of his philosophical doctrine, these 6 Goswamis have written very valuable literatures explaining the position of Lord Krishna according to the instruction and teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Radha and Krishna, according to the authoritative descriptions of great acharyas like Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Krishna Das Kaviraj, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vrindavan Das Thakur, and so many other great, powerful spiritual teachers and preceptors. Basically, what we see in this chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna that he will show him his universal form. He will display for Arjuna the universal form and explain to him what is the position of his unique personality, what he will do. In other words, although some may have different ideas about Krishna, whether Krishna is an incarnation, whether Krishna is just another manifestation of Narayana or Lord Vishnu, here in this chapter, Krishna will definitely explain in conclusive way what is the position of Krishna. And Prabhupada nicely summarizes this very nicely. This is in the purport of text number 2. Prabhupada explains, Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus-eyed. Krishna's eye appeared just like the petals of a lotus flower out of his joy, for Krishna has assured him in the last verse of his previous chapter that he sustains the entire universe with just a fragment of himself. He is the source of everything in this material manifestation, and Arjuna has heard of this from the Lord in detail. Arjuna further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearance, he is aloof from them. His personality is not lost, although he is all-pervading. Prabhupada used to often give the example, just like a very big businessman who has factory. He may not be in every place in his factory, but by his influence, by his power, everyone will feel his influence all over the business, the factory, the business, the delivery department, everywhere. So this is a very important point. Although Krishna is there in his own planet, Goloka Vrindavana, and although he comes in his form of two-handed form of Lord Krishna to this planet, he came 5,000 years ago, still he's not lost. It is not that because Krishna has come that he disappears. He's spread everywhere by his influence, and he's still unique. He still remains separate. That is the inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are various literatures written by the Goswamis where they explain various passages in the scriptures, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Padma Purana, and others, about the position of Krishna, how to understand the unique and special position of Lord Krishna. And it deals with the issue, what happens if you find a contradiction or a seeming contradiction in the scriptures. And we have, for example, in the case of Sanatan Goswami, in the Lagu Bhagavatamrita, where he explains all the different avatars of Krishna and the unique position of Krishna as the source of all incarnations. And he explains that in the Shastras, there are no contradictions. There is no contradictions. Simply one has to be very carefully study the meaning of the Shastra with a bona fide acharya, then will understand. But he described that there is no contradictions in the Shastra. This is a very important point, because sometimes some neophytes or over-intelligent and ambitious so-called scholars try to present Krishna as an incarnation of Vishnu, as an incarnation of Narayana. Although it is clearly said in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the Canto 1, Chapter 3, in the description of all the incarnations, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. We see that Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami, to their various writings, have often quoted from the Brahma Samhita, specifically the first verse of the 5th chapter, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam, in establishing the position of Krishna, as well as another verse in the 5th chapter, Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavatara Makarat Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That all of the different avatars are coming from the personality of Krishna. And no amount of word jugglery or so-called Sanskrit combination can change that. There are so many explanations by Jiva Goswami, especially in the Krishna Sandarbha. Prabhupada refers to this in his purports in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Jiva Goswami has explained all of these different passages, such as when Arjuna and Krishna went to see Mahavishnu in the causal ocean. There are so many different leelas of Krishna which are sometimes bewildering to so-called scholars and neophytes. That's why one has to take shelter of the explanations of the great acharyas. And that's what Prabhupada came to do, to present, to synthesize, to summarize all of these different writings of these great powerful acharya, these transcendental preceptors, professors of spiritual science, and present this in a way for those persons who do not have knowledge of the Sanskrit language, which is not easy to acquire. To study the Sanskrit language, technically it takes 12 years, 10 hours a day. Who has the time? Who has the time for that? Prabhupada was a very proficient Sanskrit scholar who translated and gave the essence of all the commentaries of the great acharyas, including his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, and his guru, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, and on, to present the essence of all Vedic literatures. So one does not need to search for any special teacher, special advisor, any neomat, or any kind of special revelations. Simply one has to submit his oral reception and seek the original first editions of Srila Prabhupada's books. Now, if you're fortunate to get an original book, study it very carefully. If you don't have some of Prabhupada's original books, somewhere you ought to get them. KrishnaStore.com, KrishnaStore.com. Go on there, order the Bhagavatam 30-volume set. And somebody sometimes have said, well, the other books, they don't really change the meaning. Oh, yes, they do. The minute you start deviating from Prabhupada even a little bit, immediately it's problem. Immediately it's difficulty. Prabhupada did not want his disciples to act like upstarts, pretending to be so-called scholars who know so much that they disrespect the position of the Acharya, disrespect the instruction of the Acharya. This is very important, because we see a certain mentality of neglect and disrespect with many of these individuals. How else could they file and register in the United States Copyright Office in Washington, D.C., USA, a statement that Srila Prabhupada was a worker for hire? Oh, Prabhupada became like your employee? He was like some kind of a chum that you just hired to write the book so you could just make some money? Is that your idea? That is nonsense. Acharyam mam vijanyam navamanya karichit. The Bhagavatam and the 11th canto, there's a warning. One should never think the Acharya as an ordinary human being. One should never neglect the Acharya's instruction. One should never be envious of the Acharya, to whom it may concern. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much. And I wanted to discuss briefly the direction that Prabhupada is taking here in the Gita to begin the process of explaining a very important principle to his disciples in terms of Krishna's inconceivable potency. And that is called Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. If we go back to the purport here, Prabhupada is in text 2, Prabhupada is indicating the position of Krishna as simultaneously existing in the spiritual world as the supreme enjoyer, and simultaneously expanding himself throughout the universe as the supersoul within all living beings, all living entities. So Prabhupada, in this purport, Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus-eyed. Krishna's eyes appear just like the petals of a lotus flower out of his joy. For Krishna has assured him in this verse of the previous chapter that he sustains the entire universe with just a fragment of himself. He is the source of everything in this material manifestation, and Arjuna has heard of this from the Lord in detail. Arjuna further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearances, he's aloof from them. Simultaneously one and different. His personality is not lost, although he is all-pervading. That is the inconceivable opulence of Krishna, which Arjuna admits that he has thoroughly understood. So Krishna's potency is inconceivable, but for a devotee, by the grace of the Lord, he can reveal himself in his transcendental position, simultaneously one and different. And this is a great blessing. And Lord Chaitanya promoted this in his teachings during his appearance in the 15th century. And we want to go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 3, Text 32. Actually, 31, excuse me. We're going to read the verse from there. Hopefully we can get it up on the screen. Otherwise, I'll read through. So, text 31, I'll read the English. As my Lord, your Lordship is eternally awake, seeing everything that happens. As eternal time, you reduce the duration of life for all living entities through your different parts, such as moments, seconds, minutes, and hours. Nonetheless, you are unchanged, resting in one place as the Supersoul, Witness, and Supreme Lord, the birthless, all-pervading controller, who is the cause of life for all living entities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word kutashta is very important. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated everywhere, he is the central unchanging point. Okay, this is Canto 7, Chapter 3, Text 32. If you have a book in your library, you can read along with me. Ishwara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tistati. The Lord is situated in full in the core of everyone's heart, as indicated in the Upanishads. But the word ekatvam, although there are many millions and millions of living entities, the Lord is situated as the Supersoul in every one of them. Nonetheless, he is one in many. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Advaita Achutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. He has many forms, yet they are Advaita, one and unchanging. Since the Lord is all-pervading, he is also situated in eternal time. The living entities as described as parts and parcels of the Lord because he is the life and soul of all living entities, being situated within their hearts as the antaryami, as enunciated by the philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference, achinta beta beta tattva. Since the living entities are part of God, they are in quality one with the Lord, yet they are different from him. The super soul who inspires all living entities to act is one and changeless. There are varieties of subjects, objects, and activities, yet the Lord is one. So this principle of Achinta Beta Beta Tattva is key to the understanding of our philosophy given by Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada. And it is possible to understand it by strict adherence to the process of devotional service given by Srila Prabhupada to us. And in this way, from within the heart, one can begin to understand the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please.
Very important points which are being discussed here. Very important. And the reason is that we see regularly, I'm just pretty new to the system on Facebook, and we see still, after 46 years since Prabhupada departed, many discussion going on every day about what happened, why so many devotees are not satisfied with the current status of affairs in Srila Prabhupada's movement, why the books were changed, why so many devotees were driven away from Prabhupada's mission. There are so many different topics still being discussed every day. There are books written about it. There are minute discussions and postings going on about it every single day. So when we discuss the Bhagavad Gita, it's one thing that's very important. What Srila Prabhupada is given and approved should be respected, should not be changed. One should not attempt to outdo the Acharya out of pride or out of so-called scholarship. That is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Srila Prabhupada did not want that.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I saw a discussion how one devotee said, oh, we should return the books to the pre-1978 books. No, pre-1978 is not accurate, because pre-1978, there were many books that were being edited without Prabhupada's permission, without Prabhupada's consent. Many books were being edited. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the Krishna book, the Nectar of Devotion, the Fourth Cantos of Bhagavatam, so much editing, subsequent re-editing, and so much nonsense. Prabhupada did not want that. Prabhupada did not want that. So those people who claim that they have re-edited the books and allegedly show them to Prabhupada and Prabhupada approve, I say no. Somebody may have a meeting with Prabhupada. If it's not documented anywhere, nobody can see what actual conversation took place. But we do know that in 1977, Prabhupada clearly said on June 22nd, 1977, during the rascal editor's conversation, they cannot change anything. And the next printing, again, should be the original way. This is not very difficult to understand, although English is not my first language. French is. Doesn't have to be a PhD in English grammar to understand that they cannot change anything means don't change what he is given. When Prabhupada says the next printing, again, should be the original way, he's referring to the first edition. But yet we have some over-intelligent so-called editors, pseudo-editors, who think that they have a license to change everything they want. No, this was not Prabhupada's desire. And people should not fall for this. People should not fall for this nonsense. Hare Krishna.
And it's important to note, Prabhu, that a lot of so-called senior devotees in the ISKCON group do not study Prabhupada's books. They don't. And they do not analyze the different instructions that Prabhupada gave us in order to maintain his society with integrity. They don't study them. It's apparent. They repeat famous verses. They repeat certain statements that are conducive to promote their particular guruship. But do they study the instructions of Srila Prabhupada to get a proper understanding of how to protect the disciplic succession and the teachings coming from him, Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the six Goswamis, and Lord Chaitanya? No, they don't. And you can tell when you hear them speak. I'm going to suggest to our membership, if you get a chance to hear them speak, listen to how they speak and see between the lines what their motive is. If you have the capacity to understand this, you'll realize this is a tremendous fraud being perpetrated by these people. Someone was questioning me today about my comments on Gopal Krishna. I worked with Gopal Krishna for 7 years. I have extensive experience with him, along with a lot of my godbrothers. It's not just me. It's not that it's just our opinion. There are thousands of people that understand what is going on in the terms of so-called disciplic succession. But does he study the books carefully? Does he do an analysis of the letters that Prabhupada sent? Does he done an extensive explanation of direction of management that Prabhupada gave on how his society should operate? Does he read the letters extensively and other personal instructions that Prabhupada gave, like we do in our classes? How we give everyone an opportunity to study and discuss these details and understand them properly? No. This is a fraud. Neela Shama Das in Miami. Maybe you could share some insight, please.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Haribol.
Nice to hear you, both of you again, and nice to hear about the class. Just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention in one sense is, one of the material diseases which we have is we also like to do is let me study Sanskrit. Let me understand it better. Maybe I'll understand it better. There is
Yeah.
a nice saying which goes, knowledge of the language does not mean that you have knowledge of the subject matter. It's a very simple statement, but it is a very profound statement. Knowledge of the language does not mean you have knowledge of the subject matter. Meaning, for example, some of us may be very fluent in English, but if I were to give you a book on relativity, physics, or if I were to give you a book on my subject, which is periodontology, and I would tell me, teach me something about it, you're not going to be able to understand. You know the language.
Mhm.
You can read the book, but would you be able to understand the subject matter unless and until you don't study the subject matter? That is the reason why Krishna says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upateshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattva darshinaha. The person who has seen the truth, tattva darshinaha. This is very important. And why is it so much stressed by Yashodanandan Prabhu and Vishwakarma Prabhu that we should not read any changes? There should be no book changes. Why? Because each one of us who is a conditioned soul has 4 problems. We are imperfect sense organs, we have a tendency to cheat, we have a tendency to make mistakes, and we are under illusion. These 4 problems make us unqualified to opine on a perfect subject matter, which is Krishna consciousness. So, if you want to understand the real subject matter, then we have to stick to the original books. As far as the people who are not following Srila Prabhupada, well, they're not following their instructions. So, why would they want to study Srila Prabhupada's original books? Because if they studied Srila Prabhupada's original books, then they would clearly see that they are in the wrong. But if they want to perpetuate this falsity, then they have to change Srila Prabhupada's books. There is no choice but to change Srila Prabhupada's books. Because any common man, just like how Yashodanandan Prabhu says, that even if English is your second language, if you were to read simply, without any concoctions, Srila Prabhupada's original books, the matter is very clear. The matter is very evident. You will not follow anybody. So do not expect others to study the Bhagavad Gita. Do not expect others to stick to the original version, because anybody who does that will see through the falsity right away. Hare Krishna.
Yes, that's very true. And you were mentioning about you're in the dental field. And it's important when people enter into a particular field that they have expert teachers to help them understand how to practice that particular field. It's a very important part of learning. For example, I was a cancer survivor. Now, my doctor, Dr. Moto, here in Hamilton, he's an expert in uridology, in the study of cancer of the urinary bladder. Now, did he just make it up? No, he went to the very high level university environment where there's a whole college of doctors that teach him how to become expert in this field. That's how you learn things. You learn by association, not just by, Prabhupada is the Jagat Guru for us. And in this way, we can study and in an association, because there is association based on the principles of Vaishnava teaching that we learn in association with others. So we have to seek out groups like this group that are interested in preserving and protecting the truth coming from the spiritual master. That's called teamwork. And we're reaching out to everyone, like yourself and others, to increase together as a group this teaching process. So we'll have millions of people take it up and not become misled by so-called fake gurus. So something to think about. Krishna Katha in California, I see that you're on. You've got 2 addresses here on the screen. Are you capable of coming to the screen and making a comment? Krishna Katha in California.
Hey, Hare Krishna. Sorry about that. I was outside.
Yeah.
I'm preparing for my sister to come, and so I'm just doing a lot of things this morning. I've been hearing the whole class and the wonderful talk that you, and of course the discourse from Yashoda. And our connection is solid because it's not happening at any of the other temples. Everyone is just going through the motions, you know, and so the external optics is that we're following the program, right? The ISKCON sandwich, right? We all know what that means, right? The sadhana in the morning, greeting the deities and everything, and then devotional service all day, and then, you know, a similar temple function at night, the ISKCON sandwich. So it's happening, but all of its luster is lost because, like what Nilesh was saying, you change what the Acharya brings, and it's no longer, the Acharya leaves. The Acharya is the Shakti and the potency that's there eternally. But they believe that Prabhupada left his body in 77, so they think he's just gone. And now they have to carry on with this burden. No, that's not the case. Everyone has some Shakti, but no one has the level of potency that Prabhupada has. Jagat Guru, you know, personal servant of Krishna, Radharani. No one has this potency. And so this is the sadness that we all experience, like you were saying at these temples. I was just talking to Lalitanath. He said, tell me how many devotees think like we do from this PDA disciple association, you know, Prabhupada disciple association. And I just held up my finger, 2. And everybody else is just going through the motions without understanding why they're doing it. There's really only 2 Prabhupada disciples that go to that temple that understand all of this offenses and all these changes are all not pleasing to Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, you mean in San Diego?
Yeah. So how do you build a big temple and say, look, Prabhu, I'm pleasing Srila Prabhupada? No, you're not pleasing the spiritual master if he is so not pleased or displeased over here with regards to his legacy, his books. So you can't say that I have this beautiful pool of clear water, but then just pour liquid pig shit in the middle of the pool and go, Prabhupada, look, I have this beautiful pool. Look how clear the water is on the perimeter. No, at the core of his heart, it's contaminated with our mundane speculation. Like Yashoda was saying, you know, you're a so-called editor. No, you were given that service and you had the Shakti while you were given that service, but you were also chastised many times for over-editing, right? Like you were saying, we need to dig deep into all these letters and all these room conversations where Prabhupada is blasting these rascal editors. And then they have to go back and stop what they were doing, all during his manifested presence. And then the editing business has continued on even till today. This is the poison. This is the real poison issue. Our spiritual master's legacy has been poisoned by the changing of his books. And, I can't thank you all enough. This is my only connection, right? Because I go there and I have to tiptoe around and, tread lightly, and kind of, get out while I'm still, not touched by the contamination. It's pretty sick. It's Prabhupada's temple. It shouldn't be like that. It's Prabhupada's temple.
I understand that there's a Dravida character there. What's
Yes.
your impression of him? I know that he's involved in the work with Jayadvaita. What's your impression of him? Tell us.
Well, the impression is super learned and scholarly, and he comes off that way, right? And also a lot of Vaishnav etiquette, and he leads a lot of the kirtans, he gives a lot of the classes, but he refers to Jayadvaita as his boss. And I think there's a subtle reason for that. I think it's because when he is called out on why all these changes, Prabhu, then he points the finger to Jayadvaita. He says, well, I'm just following the instructions of my boss, right? This is very common in the, corporate business world, that if you're doing something that doesn't feel right, or you blatantly know that it's not right, but you have a boss that you can point to and say, well, I didn't really know. I was just following instructions. I got an email from my boss and he told me to do this. Yeah, that's weak. That's not standing up for your spiritual master and putting your foot down and calling them out on their nonsense, like you and Yashoda and Neela, that everyone is doing on our program. This is a grassroots program, just like Prabhupada started a grassroots program, from himself and built it up. We're doing it. And it's not like, oh, we're doing it again, and it's why should we have to? No, we don't worry about why should we have to. We have to. We just do it. It's an automatic attraction to want to try to correct the issues and please Prabhupada once again. What is that famous straighten up and fly right? So I would say that to Dravida. Hey, Prabhu, straighten up and fly right. Are you just cherry picking? Are you only following the instructions that actually from Srila Prabhupada that just, give you what you want to hear, so it kind of, gives cushion and pad to your agenda? Or do you want to follow all of them? And that's what they're doing. They're just ignoring some of them and just following the ones that they like, that fits their lifestyle. and that's dangerous. Like Yashoda was saying, it's very dangerous when you start ignoring the ones that don't fit their lifestyle and only quoting the ones that do fit their lifestyle. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, Nilesh, I call it the ISKCON bubble, where they're in this little world of compromise. Because when you're in this world, what happens? Well, you have a place to live. You don't have to pay rent. Most of us have to pay mortgages and pay bills and survive in a very competitive world. We've had to learn how to survive. They don't. They live off donations. They live off the money of other people that work hard, and they do nothing. That's what they do. It adds up to zero. When you do something which is offensive to the spiritual master, what is the value of your work? I met him, this Dravida in Toronto. He couldn't even look at me. This was some years ago at a Rath Yatra I attended. He was so embarrassed because of what he's doing, because he's compromised. It's called a sellout. You're sold out because you get free food. Do you go in the kitchen and cook? Do you clean the pots? Do you sweep the floors? What do you do, buddy? Push a pencil? Who do you think you are? Some kind of intellectual American ego? Sickening. And this is not something we'll stand for. And I wanted Jonas Priya in Hawaii. Hopefully he's by his microphone. Jonas Priya, my good godbrother, who's been a devotee for over 50 years as well, has lots of experience in this mission. Maybe he could share a few comments with us. Jonas
Hare
Priya.
Krishna.
Haribo.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. It
Yeah.
was very, very, very nice class as always. And like Prabhu are saying, this group is like a oasis on a very desolate desert of life. So we're so fortunate that we have found this oasis, and it's, in Vedic terms, is a tirtha. This is a sacred place. Why? Because we're trying to do the most important thing in our life, and that, to me, is to put a smile on my spiritual master's face. If I could make Srila Prabhupada smile, because activity, whether it's monumental or just a small little detail, but it's Krishna conscious detail. So if we fill our life with Krishna conscious details, then automatically we start developing this love for Krishna. I had the opportunity to ask Srila Prabhupada one question, Atlanta in 1975. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, how could we serve you the most? So there were 150 Radha Damodar devotees, their book distributors. They all got real excited because, Prabhupada is going to say, I distribute my books. Prabhupada closed his eyes for a second and said, by loving Krishna. So if we could learn the secret, how could we become mad after Krishna? So to love somebody, you have to try to understand that person. Like in the mundane world, in a relationship, people fall in love as they start finding out about the other person. And as we start finding out about Krishna's qualities, like Krishna says, just try to remember me, think about me, try to understand my pastimes. And even if we don't, it doesn't matter. We simply follow the orders of the spiritual master. We simply follow to the best of our ability to follow the orders of Srila Prabhupada. Then we are assured success on this path. But as soon as we start deviating from Prabhupada's instructions, then that's the danger zone. That's like walking on a field full of mines, explosives everywhere. And we step on one of these ones and you're finished. So why take that? Why take that route when we could walk in the beautiful path that Prabhupada showed us? He gave so many instructions. He gave an instruction about everything we want to know. So we simply do that, then our life will be successful. Hare Krishna.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to move towards the end of the class. We'll have Nilesh speak and Yashoda. But I wanted to, before we wind up our morning session here, we need some help in running our Zoom meetings. There's a lot of issues in running them, and we're getting a summary explanation from our current production manager on how to, all the different steps in the running of the entire program. Like I saw that Vijay Panda said there's no text online. That's one of our features, that we put up text on the line. And then we have openings and closings and animations and bhajans and photos and all kinds of different features to keep our production at a high level. So if you are qualified or you want to learn how to do the Zoom meeting and give us assistance, because we go every week without fail, and it's a high demand production environment, but if you're committed to it, it'll be a great service to Srila Prabhupada and his mission if you can step forward, if you know somebody that can do this with us. So that's a request. If you have anybody interested or has any information on how to do Zoom calls and is expert at this, please get in touch with myself, bobbyhebert@gmail.com, or you can call me on Facebook Messenger or on WhatsApp, any way that you can reach me, and we'll discuss how you can participate. Nilesh Shama, I see you've got your hand up. We'll let you
Yes,
move
Prabhuji.
forward.
You know, it is
Yes,
interesting
Prabhu.
which what you call Krishna Katha Prabhu was talking about.
Yes,
And
Prabhu.
I'm seeing is that ISKCON is going into a self-destructive path. The bubble which is there is a self-destructive path.
Uh-huh.
So if we jump onto that bandwagon, we are going to be destroyed also. Remember that. Right now they are just running on the inertia of Srila Prabhupada. But they have been constantly not following his instructions, as we know. They're not
Mhm.
following their books. And the decadence is already kind of imploding within themselves. The implosion is occurring from within. As you can see, that temples are being sold, money is being misappropriated, as we see it in Russia. And what you said recently is that it is the GBC which nominated or rubber stamped these gurus to become gurus. And both GBC and the gurus know that they are not following Srila Prabhupada. So now the prominent gurus in ISKCON itself, as you said, are not following GBC's instructions and nominating their own successor gurus.
Yeah.
So eventually, even GBC is not going to be followed through. And so the whole system is just going to implode and go into these individual cults, which have no resemblance to the original movement whatsoever. So if we want to belong to the original Tattva Darshinaha, the speaker of one who has seen the truth, then we have to stick to the original books. Otherwise, we're going to be imploded. We'll implode with them. And this is what's going to happen. I would love to know what Yashodanandan Prabhu has to say.
Yeah, I'll just let him speak in a minute, but it's apparent that when you have a lie, and Krishna Katha knows that, having been in policing for 34 years in the US, a lie built on a lie built on a lie is never a solution to a problem. So you have a situation, for example, where he was the key witness in the murder of Sulochan, Krishna Katha here on air. He was the key witness. He was the key witness in terms of Keith Ham and his masterminding of the murder, along with Radhanath. Radhanath was a part of the conspiracy. It's not a concoction, it's a fact. Why is he hiding in India? What's the reason? Can you put two and two together? You come to a conclusion. What about Bhaktividyapurna in Mayapur, who violated people, young ladies, for over 20 years? And nobody says anything. He's just disappeared. Was he brought before a civil criminal court and charged like he should be and punished by put in jail? No. All these things are going on. And yet people are so foolish, they can't see it. Come on. We're not that stupid. Yashodanandana, Prabhu, please, let's finalize. Make a comment for us.
There's a very interesting statement attributed to one of Shakespeare's writings. Oh, what a tangled web we weave once we choose to deceive. Because that whole system of guru in ISKCON was based on the deception, the big lie, the hoax that Prabhupada appointed us as his successors and initiating gurus. That was a lie. It's still a lie. It's nonsense. It was never true. Prabhupada did not appoint 1 disciple, 11 disciples, or 10,000 disciples as initiating gurus. That was the original falsehood. And from that falsehood, so many other nonsensical things were sprouted. If you have some time, maybe you can let Paranjan speak maybe for 1 or 2 minutes, because he knows a lot about these 2 issues we've been discussing, if you want to give him a minute or 2, if he's available.
If he wants
Hello,
to speak,
Mo.
yeah, go ahead. And I'm not sure if Yashoda, just 1 second, Pranjana, if we have anyone to do the closeout this evening or this morning for the program.
We may not. We're just going to do the obeisances to all the Vaishnavas after we finish.
Thank you. Okay, Pranjana, please, let's wrap it up. Please make
Hi,
a
Bo. This
comment.
is the little person I'm working on.
Oh, cool.
Little person with a flute.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lord Krishna.
But anyway, yeah, I was talking to someone the other day about how if Jesus would come back to the planet right now, he wouldn't be welcome in the Christian church. They wouldn't recognize him as an authority. And they would think he was a blasphemer and he was going against the authority of the church and all the rest of it, because he was independent from all of these artificial structures like the Pope and all these. He wouldn't recognize, for example, the Pope or any of that stuff. So it's the same thing in ISKCON. And we were looking at some old photos of the temples in the 70s, especially, when there was like 99.9% Caucasian devotees in the temples. And we were comparing those photos to the photos taken recently in 2024 at the same temple. And it's like 99% Hindus. You'd have to look hard to find even one Caucasian person in the whole crowd. So obviously they've just converted ISKCON into a Hindu, showing the deity and doing wedding pujas and car pujas and baby blessings and all kinds of, let's say, money-making things. And Mahesh Raj sent me the financials from the ISKCON temples in England. They're making millions and millions of dollars a month in all their combined temples. And it's all from all these Hindus coming and donating money. And then they have huge salaries to a lot of the directors and, administration of the UK, United Kingdom, ISKCON, so-called ISKCON, but it's not really ISKCON. It's just basically a Hindu business where they made a big wedding hall behind Bhaktivedanta Manor and they rent it out and, they conduct weddings and things there. And it's just basically a business and everybody's, who's there is getting a salary. And so they're never, it's like Vishwakarma was saying, they're getting a salary, they're getting a free room, board, and maybe a huge salary. I heard that Vishaka is getting 120,000 pounds a year salary. She's the temple president of the UK Bhaktivedanta Manor now. So if you have to attract people by giving salaries and attract them to become, components of a business, then you're not going to get people who are dedicated to Prabhupada and Krishna. You're going to get business people and motivated people. You're going to attract that class of people. So we can't expect that we're going to be able to preach to those class of people. It's not going to work. You can't just go to some business somewhere and convince them to give up their business or give up their job or give up their income. It's just
No.
not how things work in the material world. So we keep thinking, well, when is Dravida going to wake up? He's never going to wake up. He's a salary paid and sold slave of the operation. He's not going to wake up. Us waiting for these people to wake up is just never, ever, ever going to become a realistic opportunity. They are not going to wake up. They have no motive to wake up. So they're just going to go on. But it is imploding. There's no question about it. 5 GBC resigned this year, and a bunch of them have just resigned de facto. You know, I have a friend in Australia. She says the temple president lives off-site. He comes once a month to get his paycheck, and he goes back and lives in his apartment. He doesn't even know what's going on. And if you had a problem, you know, a personal problem or any kind of issue, you couldn't even find this guy. You know, where does it? No one even knows where his apartment is. It's just ridiculous. So it's just become, you know, ultra mundane operation, which, you know, is normal in the material world. Religion becomes a, you know, contaminated business. And Bhakti Siddhanta wrote about that, how religion is very, organized religion can be very dangerous. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say for now, Haribol.
That's quite a bit. So thank you very much. And again, we're going to wind up the discussion today. Thank you, everyone, for participating. It does take determination to stay steady with this. And we are looking for someone to help us with the operation of our production of these classes ongoing into the future. So if you're eager to learn Zoom technology and you're knowledgeable in the Shastras and you can take a role with us, or you know someone that would be capable, mostly one of our members that's active in these programs, please step up and get a hold of us and let us know, and we'll supply you some of the information on how to do it. We're going to get the directions from our team, and we can move forward without interruption. I'd like to ask Yashoda to wind the program up today for us, please.
Very good. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. We'll see all of you tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Toronto time, and Eastern USA time for the Srimad Bhagavatam reading. Hare Krishna. All glory is to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.